All right, we are connected for the Tuesday edition of the news update. And wow, what is happening with silver and gold? Literally, I'm watching the charts and, you know, contemplating on whether or not I'm going to do a live stream. And then all of a sudden, I look at silver, watching it go along, get to 59.97, take a dip, and then it shoots through $60 an ounce, and now I'm looking at it $60.37. Something is going on, my friends. And I thought I would connect and have somewhat of a watch party, or I'm not sure, but it's still early morning. But then again, you know, when a Crimex opens and they don't slam the price down immediately, that's an indicator that either they are giving up or the pressure, the momentum from out east is just too great where the futures contracts are not readily available to slam down the price. So we're going to talk about that and a lot more. But before I move forward, for those who might be new, might be coming across the channel for the first time because the algorithms decided to notify you and to tell you the importance of getting the people's money, aka silver, in your possession. Hit that like button, check mark, thumbs up wherever you're watching from. Show your boy some love. Let me know if the audio is coming in good. And we're going to just talk it out a little bit. I got articles, I got topics, but as of right now, with just the price action of silver and the way it just took the way it just shot through 60, man. So anyway, with that being the case, let me know where you guys watching from. Feel free to drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts, ideas, suggestions. Are you intrigued? Are you entertained by this, or a little bit cautious, concerned because of the momentum? And so I see a variety of people checking in. Let me acknowledge a couple people. We got the Awakening of Patriot Survivor checking in. We got Crop Duster. We got Tom. We got Morning Monkey Business. We got Faith checking in. Mike checking in. Appreciate you guys, man. As always, wanted to just connect and just keep an eye on the charts, you know, because at the end of the day, the charts tend to tell more of a truthful story than the narratives coming out. And of course, I got some excerpts from Donald Trump and his continuous doubling down on his narratives. And, you know, when the media catches them, you know, it's kind of hard to really support those lies, buddy. But anyway, I noticed that whenever I talk about Donald Trump on this channel, I don't get many views because obviously people either don't want to hear it or cognitive biasness. I don't know. But anyway, without further ado, let's just jump right into what's going on, man. So literally, here we are now. And even the thumbnail that I made for this video is outdated because I was watching it from opening markets and seeing that it was going up, and it hadn't broken above 60 yet, but it took a little small dip. And I'm thinking like, man, here they go again. But as of right now, as you see on the screen, the fact that I'm watching the silver price tick upward in real time, and like this price might not even be the most up to date. Let me go to another source here and see what we got over on Kitco and just zoom in here. So as of now, Kitco is $60.30. And so it's 60.30 here and it's 60.50 here. So once again, to see this tick upward is definitely historical, monumental in nature, because I've never witnessed nothing like this. And I'm sure you haven't as well, even though for my people who might be more seasoned, you probably perhaps was around from the, you know, the 70s to the 1980 price action with the Hunt brothers, but I wasn't there for that. So, but getting a chance to watch this is very entertaining, I must admit. And what I want to actually show you, as I was referencing earlier, I was looking at, let me go back the last 6 hours. So this is the last 6 hours, which doesn't do justice. So literally, the video thumbnail I was attempting to make was right around here. And so we got to about, you know, no, it wasn't even this far back. Let me give me a second here, and then I'll get some of your thoughts. This is going to last hour. Okay, so there, this is the chart I was looking at, and the thumbnail that I was actually working on for this was centered around this price action here. So the thumbnail is outdated, but as you can see here, I was watching it, and this is so here we are now. So no, it was over here. It was right here. This is this dip. Okay, so the thumbnail you're watching now, this is the dip. This is what we had on the screen. And so it took a little small dip, came back up, but it wasn't. No, this is not even it. Hold on, this is it right here. Man, where's it at? It's outdated. That quick. Here you go. This is a dip. so, so literally, this is the dip I was looking at. I was over here watching the markets open, and it got to 55.90. It was 55 something. 55. Where is it at? Anyway, it was right around here. And then I walk away, and then I refresh my screen on my phone, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, I see a straight vertical line going through 60, and I'm like, whoa. And so literally, you know, here's that green candle right here. Here's that green candle so I was watching right here, and then I refresh my screen and I see this, bam. I'm like, whoa, something just happened. So once again, these are just some things that's unfolding. And so John says, I want to be happy, but I know Slam Down Friday is coming. But here's the thing. This is what could be different. And let me just share my 2 cents on this. And so what could be different is this could be a pre-Fed meeting market reaction from a global standpoint. And what I mean by that is everybody right now, look at the mainstream headlines, and all the markets are talking about, tomorrow, the Fed pivot, the Fed cut. And then I got not a quote, but a video excerpt, which I can play in a minute, where Donald Trump was asked a question about the incoming Fed chair, and the question was blunt. Will the incoming Fed chair cut rates? He was like, yes. And I'm thinking, like, all that right there factored in is enough to say that, hey, if I'm a U.S. creditor and I know that I'm not going to get paid back anywhere near what I lent to the government, I might want to start diversifying immediately. So therefore, and on top of the silver supply and all that stuff like that, we know bullion banks having problems, but this could be the early morning start of what could turn into tomorrow to be another historical moment in silver and gold price action, because by the Fed coming out doing what they're doing and admitting the QE again. So as we all know, I'm sure you watched some commentary where a former Fed official is talking about how not Donald Trump, but Jerome Powell is going to announce a new liquidity slash not QE policy tomorrow. And so that is admitting to cut back on the spigot to provide liquidity for the market. So these are all things that could be sniffing that out early. And so time is, it's too early to tell. But nevertheless, for anybody who realized the overall timing of what's going on, you just look at the fact that gold and silver is, the gold and silver. Okay, so I noticed a lot of commentary as well about gold. I think it was Gregory Mannarino. I saw yesterday. His headline was "Gold is not a commodity," and that is 100% true in the fact that gold has been money for thousands of years. Silver, the people's money for the same relative amount of time. It's not until the last 50, 60 plus years that it became a commodity because it became commoditized and traded as a financial product. And so literally, if we're watching gold and silver just, I guess, be pushed back into the forefront of our monetary psyche, what we should be considering that's happening right now is the fiat currencies, or the paper derivatives that we call our currency, are underperforming when priced against or measured against true, tried and tested monetary mediums. And so literally, if I was to take this same action now, and let's compare this to the performance of Federal Reserve notes. So if we go look at the dollar, what we're witnessing now, so over the last year, as of right now, silver is up when measured against in a foreign exchange type of valuation. Silver's up 94.22%. And so from December of last year, this same time frame last year, so this same date, let's make it even this. So this same date and approximate time a year ago, silver was at $31. So what we're literally witnessing is a doubling of silver priced in USD terms. But if I was to say it a different way, what we're witnessing from the same exact moment last year, On December 9th, approximately the same time, let me get myself here. Silver, when measured against this instrument here, an ounce of silver was 0.03 cents, relative speaking, of a whole dollar for 1 ounce of gold, 1 ounce of silver. Now you fast forward a year later, it is, according to this chart here, it looks like it's negative. So look at this chart here. So as of today, let me get it on my screen here. It is 0.016. So it's like a pit, like, so literally that almost half, as it says here, that's half of the relative cents, CENTS, that's gone when you take an ounce of silver and measure it against a single Federal Reserve unit. And so literally this kind of looks like the Federal Reserve chart that I show all the time of the Federal Reserve note purchasing power compared to what it was 100 plus years ago. So different ways of looking at it, different ways of considering what we would consider value. But as you can see, silver is telling us that Federal Reserve notes and all the other fiat currencies are underperforming drastically. And that, my friends, is something that is very interesting. And as always, as I look at refresh my screen here, so here we have $60.15. So literally the idea that it got up to 60.40 or 60.50, and then the Crimex had to come in through hook or crook somehow, some way, and decided to try to put out the fire. But the problem is, so here, this is what this looks like. So this is what this looks like in real time. So here you have, we reached an all-time new high at 11:13 a.m. Silver reached an all-time high in USD terms at $60.50. And then within that, 11:13 a.m. to 11, let me get this on the screen here, as until 11:20, 7 minutes later, it's down to 60.15. So you can see how important it was to get this down. So now it appears to be hovering at about 6.15 according to this chart here. But then look at that. It went from 6.15 and shot back up 12 cents within a single minute. And now it's hovering at 60.27. So literally, this is what we can probably anticipate and expect throughout the rest of this day. And literally, I look at this type of, as I mentioned in previous videos, when there's a sharp drawdown, to me, that is signs of the Western Hemisphere trying to put a ceiling on or put a cap on by dumping probably an unlimited amount of futures. I don't even know. I don't follow the paper game that closely. But regardless of the fact, whatever they close at today, when the market's closed, immediately following, a few hours later, when markets open in Asia at about, I think about 7 p.m. our time-ish, the markets start opening up over there, and you see a surge. So I would anticipate going into tomorrow, where everyone's anticipating Jerome Powell to just cut. It's already baked in, because that potential quarter basis point cut, could this be the baking in of this $60 and $50 high? And then an immediate surge tomorrow to where, say tomorrow, markets open up at $61 and then $62 and $63, to where heading into the end of this week, it's up to the bullion bankers over on this side of the world to figure out, okay, how can we get it at least back to 60? So literally what we have witnessed since this administration has been in office, and I want to give credit where credit is due. And so once again, I'm a political, I use the word political atheist, but I'm neither left or right. I'm more around the lines of trying to get to the bottom of truth, which we don't get. So I can be critical of both sides of the aisle because I know they're all bought and paid for. But since the administration, this current administration, when he came in office, it was, let me see here, $30. So to have received a doubling of the price of silver, a lot of this we have to give credit where credit is due. Because if it wasn't for Liberation Day, the tariffs that I know and I assume you believe are not going to really accomplish much, you factor in that, you factor in all the rhetoric, you factor in all the wars and rumors of wars and all the stuff taking place out of DC, the name, blame, and the calling, and everybody's to blame except our government itself. You factor in all that type of stuff. This is the result of this type of activity. On top of the exponential debt, on top of the deficits, on top of the overall economy not being all that it's being told, we're being told that it is. This is these are the things that are setting up those that are aware, awake, and taking action by following and accumulating, or as I always say, redeeming Federal Reserve note liabilities for real tangible assets. I mean, that's just it's only right to be rewarded for being prudent and being wise enough to realize that no side of the aisle is going to step in and save you from themselves. And so this is interesting. So let me check in with the chat real quick. Let me see what you guys are thinking. What we got here? 6 p.m. says, don't forget about platinum because it's also going up. Okay. There you go. See, that's one thing. Like, I mean, I try to cover as much as I can, but I do fall short. And that's why I rely upon the community to help me bring it back. Okay, so as I refresh my screen here, let's look at platinum, palladium, and everything else. And so literally we got platinum is at 1677. We got palladium at 1476, all up in the green at this current moment. Will it end that way today? It doesn't really matter because all this activity is telling us what's happening, where we really stand in the greater scheme of things. And so let me also check and see what some other things are happening. And even it looks like even in the crypto space, there's a little bit of green. It looks like, okay, so it looks like not only is metals doing well, it looks like we got like a little Bitcoin surge from 90,000 to 93,000. So literally something really is going on to where you got gold and silver, crypto, Bitcoin is up. And I bet you Crypto X is going crazy right now. Let's check out the S&P 500 and see what we got going on there. And so, of course, we got NVIDIA and all that stuff coming out. Man, come on now. Like, NVIDIA is not really in the green with all that announcement of being able to sell chips to China. You would think that they would be just booming right now, but they're not. So while I'm at it, I want to also share with you some things that I bookmarked that is also of interest to me because it further highlights the shift in narrative or the desire to maintain the narrative. Full of Hope says the interview with Monaco was very good this morning. I saw something that was about silver. Did get a chance to watch it. But once again, everybody has a unique angle or expertise involving silver, especially on the supply side. And it's becoming common knowledge now that the demand far outsees the supply. So in order to meet the actual physical accumulation of anything, from whether you're a big player or a small, mom and pops type spot, there's a price out there for everyone. It's just a matter of what will that price be. And so here's something I found interesting as well. We'll get into a couple of news stories here. And so this came out yesterday, but just look at the narrative that they're trying to frame here. Central bank body, BIS, raises concerns of gold and silver double bubble. And so the Bank of Banks are saying that they're concerned with a double bubble. And so the fact that they're talking about gold being a bubble is it's a way for them to try to contain a narrative, control the outlook of gold, not as a safe haven for the people and even for their own counterparts, because central banks have been accumulating as well. But they try to lump it into something that everyone who pays attention is quite aware of the fact that stocks, your average Joe and Jane, and I'd imagine you as well, have not gone out and bought any NVIDIA lately or haven't bought any Tesla lately. So if you weren't already positioned prior to and rolled up this inflating of the bubble in stocks, then not many people that are aware of what's happening will go out and buy at the top of anything. But then again, when it comes to gold, there is no top because there is no floor to how far the fiat currency valuations of gold and silver will fall. So, as I just showed you, for those who might be coming in late, I showed you the continual trajectory of the Federal Reserve note priced in silver to where this thing can keep going because the price of silver measured in the same instrument can keep going up. So this is the narrative that they would like us to believe. And so once again, they're talking about here, while equities continue to be driven by AI and tech gains, gold 60% surge this year is set to be its biggest since 1979, fueling debate about whether its traditional role as a safe haven asset has changed. Okay, so like once again, what debate? Who's debating? Who's debating that gold is not a safe haven asset against them? Once again, this is just the type of stuff I thought was interesting. It says gold has behaved very differently this year compared to its usual pattern. It says the interesting phenomenon this time has been that gold has become much more like a speculative asset. So according to Hong Sung Shin, the economic advisor and head of monetary and economic department at the BIS, he's saying that the phenomenon is that this time gold has become more like a speculative asset. Speculative. Never mind the idea that it is a true, tried and tested monetary insurance policy against their liabilities, but it's a speculative asset. So once again, when you see stuff like that, just know these are the narratives that must surface to keep people from going physical. But I bet you the same BIS will probably say something about Bitcoin. It'll be it is the best alternative to gold. People who are awake and aware should go get Bitcoin. That's something that those type of people would say. But let me give you a couple more things here. Then I'm going to get to some thoughts, ideas, suggestions in the chat. I see a lot of people checking in. Appreciate you. If you have not, definitely, as I always mention, for the sake of the algorithms, as well as those who will discover this information in the future, hit that thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. The goal is to give you an alternative perspective on what you will not hear from mainstream media. And that is why I check in. But let me actually share something with you. And I want to get your thoughts. And this is where, this is real honest. Be honest. Because I want you to, just be honest with me. Just be honest. So here is something that I want to play with. I want to play this soundbite for you, and then I want you to share your thoughts whether or not it's true or false. So this is going to be a true or false moment. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to comment true or false. So let me bring this on the screen here, and then I'll play it, and then I'll let you comment whether it's true or false.
Would give
A+,
economy.
pretty good.
But I do want to talk about the economy, sir, here at home, and I wonder what grade you would give
A+.
your economy. A+.
Yeah, A++++++.
Well, it's interesting.
Pretty good.
So the question was, how would you grade the economy, sir? A+, A++++++++. Now, I know he's a politician. I know he has to say things because he's not allowed to say the truth. So I understand that. But at what point will it become beyond obvious that, the lies must stop? Like, at what point will people say, you know what, maybe this is what they voted for, or this is not what they voted for? But I'm curious to find out, what do you think? Would you say it's an A+++++? And so some people said you can't hear. So I had the volume off, but you should have been able to hear it when I cut the volume on. But literally, it's a 10-second soundbite of him saying economy is A+++++. So of course, everybody who's tuned in, your personal economy is factored into that overall economy of our nation. And so, of course, some people might literally be doing extremely well, but then go beyond yourself. How would you grade it in a whole? True or false? A plus 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 or what? That's just something I thought was interesting. But once again, here, let me share some other things with you. Let me share just some things I bookmarked that is just worth bringing to the forefront. So I never try to be a bearer of bad news, but you got to give stats and data accordingly. So here's another Kobayashi letter. It says U.S. manufacturing employment is plummeting. It says U.S. manufacturing payroll drops 18,000 in November, the second largest decline since October 2023. This also marks the fifth monthly decrease this year, according to the ADP report. It says manufacturing employment has fallen in 25 of the last 35 months. Meanwhile, ISM manufacturing employment index fell to 44 points in November, posting the 10th consecutive monthly contraction. So once again, the economy is A plus 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 plus, and then you see all this red on the screen. It's like, if it wasn't great under Biden, 11 months later, it's not really a long enough time period to really have it become a A plus 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 plus. So, did he really need to say A plus? We could have just kept it at A and just gave 1 plus, not A plus 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 plus, which is like him doubling down, saying that the economy couldn't be any better. That's kind of the way I took that. And of course, it's rhetoric, it's propaganda, I know. But, you see all this red on the screen, it's like, come on now. And of course, me being in Metro Detroit, in the Motor City capital, getting a chance to see firsthand what the job auto industry is looking like. I'm not really seeing what that A plus plus is looking like. But then again, I know, I'm not foolish to think that we would get truth, and that's why I got to bring it to you. But I do got some good news. It looks like we're back on. We're back on and popping. And what do I mean? It looks like we've overcome. The silver price is back up. So literally, that little dip down didn't hold too long because we're back at $60.48, up 4.21 as of today. And so literally, a $2 day is minor. It's small. But then again, it's the bigger trajectory of where this is heading. And once again, I believe this is a lot of this activity here, because even gold is moving now. And speaking of which, I haven't even followed gold as much as I would like to, as far as making sure it's at an all-time high, because it's not at the all-time high. We see here the all-time high in gold is 43.42. And so literally we got another $100 we need $100+ day to get back to 43, 42 and beyond. But literally this is the last year. This is the last 11 months plus 12 months. So literally last year at this time we were at $2,600, and today we're at 42.15. And based upon the pulse of the real economy, not the economy that they want us to believe we have, this is all, like, once again, the beginning of the first inning, in my opinion. So it's going to be a nice, long or short ride up. But then again, when we get there, what else will be happening in the rest of the world is a question, because I just doubt that they're going to let gold and silver shoot up and continue to set all-time highs to where the mainstream media cannot ignore it, and they have to talk about it, and them not interrupt this momentum with something. And I know that they would love to have some type of event, just because that's just what history has always shown. When everything's get out of control, you need a distraction, a diversion tactic, because those distraction and diversion tactics gives the government a reason to get involved with their solution, which ultimately leads to the Federal Reserve stepping in some capacity, because our government needs to issue debt. It'll be some type of act, some type of piece of legislation that captures the event, whether it be the Affordability Act or whether it be the, Recovery Act or the, Stimulus Check Act or whatever, whatever. It's going to be a humanitarian style narrative, but ultimately it's going to cost 2, 3, 4 trillion just to get it done, and it's going to be a no-brainer because the economy is going to need it. And that's kind of what we're up against now. So these are some things that I find to be very interesting. But $60.48, what time? Give me a ballpark figure as to what you guys think this activity will end at here today on the Crimex. And tomorrow we can pick up and see how correct we were and at what point tomorrow will it be. Because I really believe that the amount of suppression is just no longer sustainable. It's no longer strong enough to keep this down. And so somebody says, Marcus says, CNBC Wall Street, Main Street is totally silent. And so True Texan says, just wait until they create an ETF for Bitcoin. True Texan, they already have the ETF for Bitcoin. And speaking of which, this is where the game is heading. So let me share something else with you, because I really don't. I noticed that this audience here, majority of you don't really care much about the crypto space. But as I always say, it's a part of your future, whether you like it or not, because we're going digital for sure before 2030. And so here is the bigger picture as to how Bitcoin has been capped with this price action, because they're waiting to set up the entire infrastructure mimicking what we currently have now. So TradFi has already captured the DeFi. And so here is a more proof of that. CFTC to pilot tokenized collateral in derivatives markets, starting with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDC. And so the CFTC, Commodity Futures and Trades, whatever exchange, whatever, I can't think of the name of it. They are supposed to be the overseers for the financial asset markets, and it comes to the consumers being having access to those markets for investment sake. And they have been doing a horrible job of monitoring gold and silver. And of course, we know that's, part of the, they can't really, they ignore it. But they have been so busy preparing for crypto to be placed as the primary focus for our economy and the financial markets, especially through tokenization. And so once again, you may not follow it, you may not believe it, you may not want it, you may not participate it, but the too big to fail banks, of which you probably do banking through, they already have the infrastructure set up. And so now with the CFTC looking to pilot tokenized collateralizations, they're using Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDC as collateral for the big banks and institutions, whatever, to help support the derivatives market, which will add a lot more liquidity. And it'll be an easier way to funnel all the debt from out of the old market into a new, which will be a hyper-inflated industry, because Bitcoin, of course, will, reach all to new highs. Ethereum will, all these cryptos will be, because this is a way of funneling funds out of the old into the new. And then they're going to just basically capture the same derivatives market, which is already quadrillions of dollars, and keep that lifeline support for the derivatives markets through crypto. So they're positioning crypto to be a support lifeline for the defailing fiat versions of derivatives infrastructure, denominated USD terms, and keep it going, keep it alive. So this is just something that, of course, you won't hear about this unless you follow the sector. But this is one of many other ways that I follow as to how they're trying to just provide themselves some cushion so that they can stay ahead of the game in this digital reset that we're a part of. So the reset's happening. It's happening right now. Gold and silver is, I believe, a global phenomenon of nation states as well as private funds and things of that nature getting to safety. But then ultimately, people will be steered and lured towards wherever the greatest profit will be made, and it's going to be, of course, in the crypto space. So this is just some things worth paying attention to for those that care. And what else? Okay, let me give you a couple other things here that I bookmarked, and then we'll call it the day. But let me see if I can find it. I got all types of things bookmarked. And so this is another thing that I think is important to focus on, because we have tomorrow Fed rate cut. We know it's anticipated, it's baked into the cake. But you look at the amount of cuts from all global central banks, and it tells us a much different story. So here is a global markets investor says world central bank rate cuts are running above the GFC pace. It says world central banks have cut 316 times over the last 2 years, the most this century. And so if you just look at this graph here, it shows you what the world is up against. And so you usually cut your interest rates to spur lending and what they used to consider growth, to get people borrowing and so they can spend. And so the GFC, we saw 313 cuts, and literally it flatlined the economy, global economy, because everything from that point on was ZERP, NERP, and everything else. But it kicked the can down the line further. And it was an obvious need for all those cuts because the world was in a direct recession, and it would have came to a halt. We saw reports about people saying the economy would have came to a halt had the federal government not stepped in. Okay, so here you are now. There was 255 cuts in 2020. Everybody cut. Everybody needed some growth. And so here, as of today, we've already had 316 cuts. And tomorrow, and this is probably, this is a month lagging, but tomorrow, once the Jerome Powell cuts, it's going to be 317 cuts. And I guess the economy is at A+++++. So, like, why are they cutting at such a large rate in a time frame where we're told everything is fine? So clearly things are not fine, because if everything was hunky-dory, there would not be a need for central banks globally to all be cutting. And so literally we've reached debt saturation to the point where everything is being reset, but it's not obvious to the average person just yet. And so by the time it becomes obvious to the average person, that's when stuff hits the fan. That's when we see gold, silver, like, tell us something that will just completely rip our, you won't be able to stand it. You're talking about a $2 day in silver, a $10 day in gold. I'm talking about like, a $20 candle every minute or something like that, or like $100 move in gold every 15 minutes or something like that, to where it's like, man, like, yeah. And that's where I'm like, I don't think they would let the system go that way because they can't control that narrative. And then how will they set up a fully functional digital transition if everybody and mother is running out to get physical? So that's why I can speak, tinfoil hat type talk. But then again, let's keep it realistic. Just stay within moderation because, we're already past a point of no return when it comes to gold and silver being of importance. So anyway, this is just some things that are happening, man. Thought I would check in real quick, share my 2 cents. I'm curious to get your thoughts. As always, feel free to share your thoughts and expertise in the comment section. And then, of course, for those who have not, I don't know, if you're new or old to the community, but go to Telegram and join the RTD Telegram. I'll actually put the link in the description so you guys can plug in there and we can continue this conversation, because I have a lot more articles there that I put up because it's easier to put up there because I don't have to check in all the time. And so I'll put okay. So right now what I'll do is, for those that want to, I will put the Telegram in the chat, or not in the chat, but in the description in a moment, so you can join us there, because everybody who is on there gets a chance to share stuff in real time. So what I'm going to do is, give me a second here. I'm putting it in the chat right now. And so I encourage you, if you are on Telegram, join us. And then post articles, thoughts, ideas, your favorite content creators, whoever, it's whatever. And we can go from there. But once I get this set up here, once I get myself together, where I had the, give me a second. I had the to discuss. Where's my link? Okay, so let me grab this and bear with me. Just trying to do this before I log off so I don't forget. Okay, so I'll put it in the chat here. It's the very first thing. Oops. So for those that want to connect with me, refresh your screen or whatever, it's on there now. and I'll put it on Rumble as well. But anyway, with that being the case, people, that's all she wrote. Be blessed, be safe, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will definitely check in and see where we're at. So depending on how the markets close, I might, log in tonight and do another one. So, but as always, be blessed, be safe, and continue to get your weight up, my good friends. And I'll leave you with this. Sick of watching your savings lose value? Now's the time to get your weight up. Visit the RTD Silver Team Store and either start stacking silver or add to your current silver stack. Because by getting the people's money, you're protecting tomorrow by stacking today. Click the link in the description to find out more information. Looking for ways to get affordable gold? Then it might be time to redeem your Federal Reserve notes to spendable 24-karat gold notes. It's real value you can control, and it's a great way to protect yourself against inflation. To get yourself some, go to buygoldnotes.com or click the link in the description. And last, if you're looking for alternative banking, look no further than UPMA Precious Metals. As you know, banks aren't protecting your money. They're actually using your deposits to extend loans, which expands the monetary base and offer you pennies in interest. Get back to traditional banking by opening up a free UPMA Metals account where you actually get to save in physical gold and silver in a vault with your name on it. To find out more, go to bit.com/gold silver banking or click the link in the description for more information.